Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the Anarchy podcast. I'm your host, Super, and here with me we have the legendary 2B2T old fag, fr1kin'. How's it going, man?
Good.
That's
How
great.
about
That's
yourself?
great. I'm doing quite well. I got back from school and all that dumb shit, so I'm pretty happy to be doing this interview with you. So, really, to get this started, when did you start playing on 2B and really Anarchy?
So I started playing all the way back at 2011, late 2011. That is when I originally joined, and I joined because my friend Victor Muraqui, he had played on this server much earlier, and he invited me. We knew each other over Gary's mod, so that's when I first joined. It was the first Minecraft server I had ever played. In fact, I bought Minecraft specifically to play 2B2T. Funny enough.
So, you're not necessarily accustomed to a lot of other stuff in Minecraft?
Nope. I joined like a few other servers, but I got like globally banned on something for breaking blocks. So I just kind of said, fuck it. I hate everything else.
Yeah,
That's my experience outside of 2v2t.
Yeah. I know of this one server. It is, I think, the oldest or not Anarchy, but like Minecraft server. It's like Minecraft multiplayer.net, or maybe something like that, something along the lines of that. And you can get banned for breaking blocks, so that may be what you're talking about. But again, I don't know.
It was a honeypot or something. It's like they
Oh,
have a
okay.
big ban list or something. I don't know. But the point is that I'm not accustomed to, servers with rules or, the no griefing. I just like the environment of 2B2T and what it has to offer.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of things to be in awe of. What are some of your favorite things about it?
Well, just like it's unmoderated, first of all. So I go out there and I can just I can break blocks first of all without getting added to a giant ban list. And I can say whatever I want, and I just enjoy that. But there's also the world. I think the map is probably the most important thing of 2e2t. It's just kind of it's very entertaining to walk around and see all the old structures and stuff.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot
great
of
sign.
yeah, there's a lot of history in it. And really, when you look back on 2B, like, when were the golden ages?
Well, I mean, I'm very biased, so obviously it was when I originally joined and played with my friends. Those are probably the best times I ever had, which was about 2011, 2012. And that was when I had all my friends, which was Victor Muraqui, I had Cobra 51, and I had Tyler, and we all played together. And it was like, there was like some kind of mystery behind 2B2T. It's like, you know, you felt like very vulnerable when you were playing and making bases, as if somebody could just pop up and grief your base, or you could be attacked. And it's just it was so fun, to kind of come on and build a base knowing that it's vulnerable and could be destroyed. And I just
Yeah.
really enjoyed that part. But it's like over time, you kind of begin to see like the mystery and all that kind of unravels, and it becomes less, mysterious. And once
Gotcha.
that's over, yeah, it's like it's still fun. I love it, but it's just not as good as it used to be. So that's what I would consider a golden age, for at least for me, my perspective.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, the people who I have interviewed, whether it be Kino Rana or some other old fag, their experiences pretty much just revolve around those first couple of years of the server. I mean, like, respectively so. Like, everything was so much newer then, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know how it is today because it's really hard to get on. I feel like it's somewhat similar, but whenever I originally joined, like the map was nuked and stuff, but it was kind of a lot of the buildings were preserved, so they would be griefed, but they'd be griefed enough for you to not enough for you to it be unrecognizable. Like now when people blow things up, it's like they blow them up to smithereens, like it's just a giant crater. But before it was like 2B2T really was just a bunch of ruins. And that was
Yeah.
what I loved so much about it
I
in
mean,
the early years.
yeah, that is true to even an extent of Spawn nowadays. Like everything is just old bases that were lost in time, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, there was like you can just tell like whenever like the before the adventure update, which was like 1.8, people didn't have sprinting, so everything was really close to spawn, and it's like it became very easy to get out all of a sudden, and you just could find like pretty sizable bases like very close to spawn. Of course, those bases today have now just been, completely like run over by, the general spawn area now. It's been completely nuked. It's just that's just how it is today.
Yeah, there's just literally nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you were to wind back the clock of 2B per se, would you go back and preserve those, moments, or would you let time take its course?
Uh, I really enjoyed them, but I don't think it's just like a one-time like opportunity, It's like you enjoy it the first time, and I
Yeah.
guess I wish I could experience it again, but at the same time, it's like that's not going to happen. I've
Yeah, no.
experienced it once, and I'm only going to experience it once.
Yeah, for a lot of people, they still try to chase the dragon and do new stuff on the server. Although sometimes it's kind of hard to find new stuff to do. But yeah, I see what you mean. Now, if you even can, and I don't really necessarily think you can, could you try to lay out your most, memorable or important times on Tubi as a sort of maybe, let's say, timeline for everyone listening in?
Hmm, it's a hard question. I don't know. My most important times, obviously, were the very beginning, and I guess maybe there will be another important time that we can talk about, maybe in the future. I can't talk about today, but
Yeah.
that'll be a subject for a future video, maybe.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm
You'll
sure.
know,
Oh well,
but
no.
I don't know. I can't say. Like I've already described, like the early times I played on 2B. That was like the greatest.
Oh
It
yeah.
was. It was just. It was new and
Gotcha.
untamed.
Do you think the servers necessarily died since Russia?
No, it was gonna die without him. Like literally, you see, before Rusher, like the server was literally falling apart. Like the player base had started ditching it because of some drama, and the player numbers were like decreasing. And Housemaster really just didn't care about the server. People hate on Rusher, and he definitely did bring like a new generation, and it's definitely completely different than it used to be. Like, I don't even remember what it used to be like. That's how different it is. It's just so weird. And
Yeah.
but I don't think that Russia was essentially a bad thing. The server was literally gonna die. Like probably it would be dead by now if had he not come.
Yeah, a lot of like I just interviewed Kino Rana last week. Videos in the description. Um, he said that Tubi died a long while ago, and mostly because of Russia. I think Dr. Zombie said in his interview, and more people said in theirs. But really, it gave honestly the server so much more life. I mean, like they wouldn't be getting their interviews, and you wouldn't be getting your interview right now if it wasn't for Russia.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, it's just it's a
I think
lot.
they
It's a
get
lot to think about.
I think he gets a lot of hate because he just kind of brought a very young audience to a server that had a more mature player base before. And by mature, I mean of age.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so whenever he came, though, I was actually really excited. Like before, having 60 players on was considered like oh my gosh, there's like a big player wave coming through. It was always incredible to see like 60 people, and then just suddenly one day in like June, it's just like I open up the tab list and there's like 100, and you see you go to 120, 150, and then it's like hitting up to 200 and 300. And man, It was like very incredible, but it changed the server forever, but it saved it at the same time. Like Housemaster had stopped caring. If I don't know if a lot of people remember, but House used to do these April Fools, or he still does them now. He'd do these April Fools maps every, April 1st of every year, but he didn't do one on 2016. But literally the only thing he did was upgrade the server to 1.9, which was like really laggy. So it's like he just didn't care about the server anymore, and I'm pretty sure he wanted to sell the server too. In fact, I think he almost did.
I mean, to Russia, right?
No. He was going to sell it to another 2B2T member, from what I remember.
Oh.
Somebody was going to buy it, but the person who was buying it from him, no, Housemaster pulled out of the deal, actually.
Why? Was it because of like the jeopardization of like people's IPs and shit like that?
I think House had just kind of gotten really bored of 2B2T. Like, he wasn't making any money from it, and literally the server was like just making it by every month with like donations and like barely making it sometimes.
Yeah, and then he would have to chip in with himself. Oxymoron said that in his interview. And it's like it's come so far. Like like you said, House didn't care about the server in 2016, maybe even 2015, and now look at him. It's his lifeblood.
I know he's making a lot of money off the server.
Oh yeah.
And he has a lot of players to thank for that, because if had he been in control of the server ever since like what 20, I forget whenever he stopped paying for it for himself, but the server degraded greatly by 2015 and then in 2016, and it was just barely making it, and it had those few players. I know like Kane's Law paid a lot of money to keep the server up, and it was like just a few players would donate lots of money to keep the server up for the next few months. It was very concerning, because it's like I actually really liked the server and I didn't want to see it fall.
Yeah, it is really like a monument of modern Minecraft. Like you look at Hypixel, Mineplex, although Mineplex is dead right now, and so many other things. They're just, I don't know. There's a lot to do with 2B2T and really Anarchy in general that's so real. There's no mask on things. It is how it is, and there's no, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like vanilla, Minecraft. It's kind of like how I imagine, the game was supposed to be played with all these plugins and all this stuff. It just feels right. It's like when you load a single player world.
Yeah, it's just so real. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Now, I want to get off that topic because we spent a little bit of time on that. So, more to do with you, frickin'. What's your backstory at the Block Game Mecca?
All right, so Slapman had originally invited me, or as many people know him, Autism Bot. So he originally invited me, and it was really far out, so I really didn't want to go. But then, the 11/11 dupe happened, and I had a lot of stuff I wanted to move. And at the time, you could fly under the Nether, so I could get there very quickly. So I decided that I would fly there, just so I can move my stuff. I didn't really have any intentions of building anything, and in fact, I don't think I actually did build anything, except for something very, not really far out, but it's away from the main base, and it's actually still in grief today.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so my contributions to that base were building stashes, digging tunnels to stashes, hiding stashes, and yeah, that's about it.
And duping stashes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I didn't really do much. I feel like I should have done more, but I'm just not really the building type. I used to build more, but they didn't really look very good. So
yeah, some people are just not cut out for it, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't want to schematica my way. I did make one thing, and it was not that I built it on 2B2T, but I had somebody who knew what they were doing. They got a model of Hitler, and they put it into this program that turned the 3D model into Minecraft blocks. And then I kind of cleaned it up, and then we built that. We built part of that at the base.
Yeah, map arts are always so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've made
So
a couple.
that was like my only contribution really, and I didn't
Gotcha.
even build most of it.
Yeah, I remember when I made a couple map arts. I believe, yeah, no, one of them was on 2B, and then three of them were on another clone called Anarchy MC. It's they weren't too bad, but anyway, that's a little bit off topic. What's your relationship with Tristan?
Oh, Tristan, we're like good friends. Like, I originally met him because I had been invited to Nerds Inc. I had had him on my friends list before because Tristan was just the kind of guy who kind of added everybody on 2B2T. So even though I didn't really talk to him, he added me, and I just, we talked sometimes. But we really became good friends when I was added to Nerds Inc. And we started talking more because we have similar interests. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
always
my
good.
bit.
Yeah, it's always good to have people you just share interests with and you just really just chill with.
Yeah, and I would say we're pretty chill. Like, we talk to each other a lot, and we share all the same interests, or a lot of the same interests. So
Yeah,
he's a pretty smart dude. And by pretty smart, I mean a very smart dude.
very smart. Like academically?
Uh, well, I mean, he's not really into the mathy of academics, but in terms of like just knowledge of you know uh, computer science type things, networking, system administration, all that stuff. He's very, very knowledgeable in. He actually is what is it? He volunteers for like a bunch of like I think DreamHack and some Otaku-thon as like a system administrator, and he does it very
Jesus,
well.
wow.
So he's very smart.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Way, whoa. Um, yeah, awesome, awesome. That's sort of good to know, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now here's something that when I was researching about you, I noticed you. Why are you in a subreddit in called r/the cruise missiles with only you and Kino?
Yeah, this one's actually kind of funny. So whenever the rushers came and all that, they would say like Team Rusher and stuff. So, me just wanting to be like some, I guess, outlier. I don't know what you would want to say. I wanted to make Team Cruise Missile. So that's the origin of that. And I guess Kino Rana was like part of that. I forget the entire story, but it was just like I would spam in chat the cruise missiles. It was just because I liked the words. It didn't really have anything with me liking Ted Cruz or anything. I just liked the way that you could use cruise missile using his name.
I
So
guess I guess there's something there. I don't necessarily understand it, but I'm sure it was
shit
funny at the
posting.
time. Yeah, shit posting, just shit posting.
That's all. That's what I'm good at. Shit posting.
Oh, everyone is. Come on now. um, Another thing I want to know the story behind is the really the history with you and the sort of well-known 500K base.
So that base was the third base I had built with my friends Victor Muraqui and Cobra 51. So this was after I think Tyler went over, or as you know, Oxymoron. So Tyler had betrayed us, and we needed to move away from that base. So after like a month, because after we killed his friend and we destroyed our base, we kind of got, it was kind of depressing. So we stopped playing for like a month. But then we came back and we started moving, and we just walked. And back then, finding places to build bases was hell. I didn't know if the seed was released at the time, but we didn't have it. So what you would do is you would just walk on the nether roof. You put down a portal, and like 99% of the time, your portal would end up in the ocean. And you would have to boat going like diagonal or something for the rest until you hit land. Because back then, like the generator for the world generator would only generate ocean.
Okay.
So after like an hour of boating, we reached the land that we built the 500K base on. And I had gotten inspiration for building that base from the 1 million base that XOXP had griefed probably a few months prior. I like the idea of having like a walled-in base. And I wanted to build like a very neat wall, like a very, pristine wall. But as of everything I build, it doesn't really turn out as good as I thought it would. Because it didn't look very good. I didn't know it was well known, though. That's kind of concerning. I don't know if that base is going to be around, because as far as I know, that base is still around.
Yeah, I saw a couple of videos on it. I think it was Courier who made a video on it touring the base, I believe, and I saw your name quite a few times on it. So I just wanted to know the whole history behind it.
So there's a lot of history behind that base, because there were a lot of cool things that happened in that time. I think at that time they had added books into Minecraft, like the Book and Quill.
Ooh.
And this was my favorite exploit. So this was early in the base. They added the Book and Quill, but the way Mojang implemented it was like not very good. So you could actually send MBT data to the server, which is what the structure of the book is, and you could write enchantments or add enchantments to the book. So you could say, oh, this book has 32k sharpness, or 32k efficiency, or 32k looting, and that was like one of the best like exploits we had ever used, because it's like you hit a mob and just suddenly it explodes and it drops like 4 double chests of like gunpowder.
Yeah, gunpowder, like wool or shit like that.
Oh yeah, and it would lag the server like really hard. It was hilarious. I loved that so much. And you could kill people by just touching them. And one of our favorite things to do was use knockback 32, and we would hit each other, and it would just like send you flying in one direction, and you could essentially kind of like fly with it, because the server anti-cheat would just apply so much knockback that you would be able to, abuse that to just kind of fly.
Oh my god.
Really... So we had made a bunch of these exploited books, and another cool thing you could do was the signer. That wasn't checked. So you just the player would just, fill in their name and then send it to the server, and the server wouldn't verify that name is a valid, is the same player who wrote the book or just signed it. So you could say this book was signed by Housemaster. So we had this meme going. It was called the Book of Chords. And it was just a book where we had just XYZ or XZ and then names of like famous players. And we were like, Housemaster gave us the Book of Chords. We know where everyone is. And it was this kind of joke we would, post all the time in chat, that we know where everybody is. And, there's just some new players who come on and they think that the admin actually gave us a book.
Oh my god.
Like,
Jesus.
It's unfair. That's not Anarchy. But yeah, that was really fun.
You sneaky bastards.
Yeah, I love that exploit because it's created a lot of books that are... I don't know what happened to them. I remember some guy named Jumbo Warrior came to my base, and I just remember I was still actively at the base because I had found some bed TP, so I was able to teleport to and from the base pretty quickly. So I was moving a stash I had there. And I just remember, like, one day I was getting ready to move a stash, and I had it in the nether, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go to bed. I wake up the next morning, and it's gone. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody stole my stash, but what's the chance of that happening? I've had this here for, like what, years, and now suddenly it's gone. So I go and I check the base, and, like, everything's been stolen. And it says, and then I just find one book that says Jumbo Warrior has taken this to a museum or something.
Oh, the museums of 2P. Jesus, okay.
Yeah, because he had taken one of the most impressive things I think he took, because this was before Shulkers. We had a complete copy of Mein Kampf in like 4 double chests. And it's like every time you'd open up this chest, it would like lag your client because it sends so much data, so much book data. So it's like I come and I check on the book, and it's just gone. And I'm just like, oh, and I just find in one of the chests, like, a Jumbo Warrior has taken this. And I'm like, oh, great, somebody found the base. But he didn't actually do anything. I don't think he didn't grief my base or anything. And in fact, he's actually a pretty chill dude, as far as I know. I haven't actually talked to him, but
Yeah, I know
yeah.
Bezop has him, or you know him as Dr. Underpickles, I guess. He did an interview sort of like this one, but on him. And I guess if you want to know more about him, then you can go check out that video. But anyway, I want to move on to a different thing where you have been, and that is, how did you come to be at the lands, and really what's your history with the infamous location?
So I never was originally a base member of the lands. The funny story behind me getting there is I always wanted to visit it, but it was always so far out and it was like hard to get to. But I had discovered, because this was back in 2016, and I discovered with Cartman, who was another old player, we found this like bed flying exploit where I forget exactly what you did, but you would lay in a bed and then you would just tell your client that you're not sleeping, but the server still thinks you're sleeping. So you could essentially just kind of, no anti-cheat checks were done on you and you can move around. But there was one thing that would happen. If you got hit, you'd get sent back to your bed. And I was thinking, what if you did that in the Nether? And in the Nether, you had a bed at the same place, in the same orientation, at the same coordinate where your bed in the overworld is. Because Minecraft doesn't check. And I was like, this has to work. And it did. So I was like, I can finally go to the lands. So I had told Cartman and I think Jared. And Jared decided to use this opportunity to bring Rusher to the lands. And somehow, I think Tumorous, which was I don't know if he was an older player, I just knew him somewhat. He found out that Jared was planning to do that, and he told Jack, and Jack does not like people coming to the lands. So when I was getting ready to go there, it was Jared shows up, and we're at the first bed in the bed chain, and Jared shows up, and there's these two ults with him, right? And it's like, oh, and Jared tells me, oh yeah, this is the camping rusher and Mr. Mitch, and I'm like, oh, and I'm just like, I'm not going to attack these people, but I don't think they should be coming. And then like I think 5 minutes later, like as night is falling and we're about to do the bed TP, I see Tumorous come, and he goes and kills both of them, but he spares Jared. And then he doesn't kill me. So I start bed TPing myself, and I get into all the way to the last chain. And apparently, Jack did not want me there either. So Tumorous, he's kind of mischievous. So he kind of just told Jack that he was coming alone. So he sends me to the bed, or into the last chain, and I teleport, and I just teleport, and I get to Jack, and I see Jack, and he removes the bed, and then he just runs away, and he starts running away. But then he kind of stops, and he looks back, and he just notices that the person who had teleported was not Tumorous, but me. And I can see him start typing in chat as if he's trying to, tell me, or talking to Tumorous or something. And I use that opportunity to get away because I knew that Jack would kill me. He would have definitely killed me if he had the chance. So it was just funny seeing Jack's reaction to me getting there. And I ran away so that he wouldn't kill me. And he didn't. So that's how I got to the lands. And it wasn't really as impressive of a base, because I was kind of expecting like imp base. Because I don't know if anyone or Jared has told you or anything, but Jared, when he griefed imp baits, I was with him. So
That's whoa.
yeah, I kind of kept that a secret for a while because I didn't want Tristan to know, but now Tristan knows and he doesn't really care. But at the time, I felt like the lands was going to be the next imp base or something, but it really wasn't. It wasn't very significant.
Okay, it was just like a show base, right?
Yeah, it was
Hmm.
funny just how I kind of got there. Tumor. I mean, Jack definitely did not expect me to get there,
Yeah.
and I don't know if. I mean, definitely he doesn't like me anymore after what I did. But at the time, I bet he would have just killed me because of my affiliation with Jared and Nerds Inc. I don't know if I was affiliated with Nerds Inc. at the time, but uh, Jack does not like Tristan or Clyde, so he probably did not appreciate me being there, which is weird because the base was already great. So I don't know why he was so protective over it.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd, but anyway. Um, Now, what's the complete deal with the old apocalypse exploit? And really, can you explain it?
I wish I could explain it. I've always kind of theorized on how it worked, but all the way I found it was actually pretty stupid. I didn't actually like intentionally try to like in Fit's video that he made about it. He made it as if I had been trying to find this exploit, but I really didn't. Just knew that there was something like a backwards TP that a friend told me about, where if you killed yourself on an animal, you could go backwards. Or if you killed yourself on an animal while you were in the nether, you could go backwards. So I was
Okay.
like, oh, cool, I want to try that. So I was at the block game Mecca at the time, which was really far out. And I tried teleporting backwards, and I fucked something up because whenever I did it, it just didn't work. So I just got really confused. But at the same time, around the same time, the server started like lagging really hard, and I really didn't, connect the pieces at the time. But people started saying the server's lagging. Who's lagging the server? And I'm me being like a shit poster. Just said, "Oh, I'm doing it. Yep, it's me." So I just start shit posting that I'm lagging the server, even though I didn't have any clue that I was lagging the server. I just kind of instinctually say that it's me if somebody says something like that.
Frickin' the
So,
baiter.
so like a few seconds in, I realize that the server's lagging hard, and I just kill myself, and then the server stops lagging. So then I start figuring out slowly because I tried doing it again, the backwards TP, and the server starts lagging, and then I realize, oh, I am lagging the server,
Oh
and
no.
it's lagging really hard. And I was like, wow, this is like terrible because the server practically was frozen. But I don't remember how it exactly worked. In fact, it was just very strange. But if I had to guess, it has to do with the chunk loading. Like there has to be, I can't exactly explain, but there has to be something wrong with having a pig, like the entity loading a chunk, and then in the same tick of the server, it unloads a chunk, and it just kind of gets in this endless cycle or something, because it would just completely lock the game. It was that bad.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It was called like the time freeze exploit or something like that. God,
oh
it's
yeah,
insane.
but it didn't completely freeze the game, but it felt like it. Or actually, maybe it did. I don't remember. But either way, like the thing that confuses me is the further out you were, the worse the lag was. So that doesn't make any sense. So obviously something's going on, but I never
Yeah.
figured out. I just, I made a mistake. I tried backwards TPing. I didn't follow my friend's directions, and I lagged the server. Really stupid of me, but I guess I
Yeah.
found something doing it.
Um. Yeah. I know Fit made an okay video, I guess, on it. He was talking about it, and he was saying like it was an unprecedented exploit. But I guess everything turned out fine in the end, right?
I think some other people figured out how to do it, and I told Housemaster about it. That was what happened. So, like, it was a known like the backwards TP was known, but it was like most people would do it correctly, but I did it incorrectly, And once people, one person messed up, they realized how I was doing it, and then, everybody started doing it until I told Housemaster how to fix it.
Okay, and then everything stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very simple fix. In fact, I tried, because I don't know if people remember, but Housemaster tried patching it, but he like did the dumbest, stupid patch in the world. It was like he just disabled /kill. And I wrote a plugin for him that was literally one line of freaking code that would have stopped it. And it did stop it. Later, the Spigot devs, or the Paper Spigot devs, added the same line of code to, Paper Spigot to fix it. It was just like, Housemaster's so concerned nowadays. Tristan has like put, PTSD in his brain. He does not accept plugins unless he's paying like somebody $60 an hour.
$60 an hour. Holy fuck.
That's what I mean, the people he's hiring are like French, and the French, they always demand high wages and all that, but they don't put out.
Yeah.
Obviously, because they took like a week to patch it. I was like, how stupid can you be? But I guess it sort of worked. I mean, you could kill yourself in other ways, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Housemaster's kind of a dum-dum sometimes.
Yeah.
He calls himself DevOps, but he's not very good at running the server when it comes to like plugins and stuff, because he's kind of vulnerable due to the lack of knowledge in programming and stuff.
I mean, doesn't he have a whole team of people who he just fucking pays a lot of money to make simple plugins for him?
Yeah, and they're trash plugins, and they lag the server, and you could probably get them for free. I don't understand Housemaster. He's weird, but I think it's justified after what Tristan had done. Tristan, Pyrobyte, and Pop-Up. He had been roosted a few too many times. And
damn, yeah, that is true. Backdoors, right? Yeah. Now I want to go more in depth into you, frickin', and really, what's the full story with you and Nerds Inc? Because you have a little bit of a history with them.
So I was not originally in the group when it formulated, which was like, I guess they called it the Tyranny. Or it was Sato who called it the Tyranny of Four Faggots. And it was, Tristan, Jared, Clyde, and I think Talo, or Pop Bob. Yeah, Pop Bob. But Talo was also a part of all of it. I don't know. So it was them who were originally part of it. But I was friends with Jared, like good friends with Jared. Because back all the way in 2015, XOXP had actually hooked me up with Jared, because they wanted to stop, Sato's weird spawn incursion to build that thing at spawn. I forget what they call it. The big obsidian block, Yeah. We wanted to stop them. So Jared, or XOXP, sent me Jared, who was supposed to help me, kill Pyrobyte, who was the only person who actually was able to stop anyone, because he had a sword named Lisharp 666, which would kill anybody upon touching. So we had to formulate an idea to somehow get that sword. Of course, that didn't work out in the end, but I met Jared. That's how I met Jared. And we became really good friends. And we still are good friends. And after a while, I think Clyde, like, he saw a video I had made about my bow aimbot, which was like, I did something really weird with the bow aimbot where I kind of calculated the best way to shoot the bow at the exact time. And Clyde thought that was really cool, and he wanted to add it to InHack. And he wanted to help me. He wanted me to help him fix something in InHack. So that's how I met Clyde. And from there, I kind of just started, becoming good friends with a lot. So they added me. And originally, it was actually Clyde who didn't want me in there, funny enough, despite we were good friends. Clyde does not like change. So I was added to Nerds Inc., and then Clyde abruptly removed me. And then after a while, he just kind of accepted it. And then from there, I met Pop Bob and Tristan.
And that's the story of you joining, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, gotcha. Do
pretty
you think you've
much.
had a lot of fun with those group of guys?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're all really smart, and it's not as like the old times when we played 2B2T and we could just organize. We would play Minecraft a lot, but like the Space Valk 3 grief, like that was organized. Like we had to organize pretty hard for that because it's like now, everybody has things to do in life. So you have to find a perfect time, but still being with them and doing things with them was like really fun, especially that Space Valk 3.
Yeah, you think it's like a blast of the past?
Oh yeah, that definitely was. It felt like I was like 5 years in the past, when I was, or not 5 years, more like what, 3. It was whenever I was at Imp Base. It felt like that again. It was
I
just,
see. Yeah.
it was really fun, especially when Jack showed up. That was also great.
I'd
So
imagine there's so many great memories. But with all those guys, are there any members of really Nerds Inc. that the public isn't aware of?
yes, I probably shouldn't like reveal their names or anything, but we essentially, I guess, we add people as we see fit.
I
We don't.
mean,
It's not like, yeah. I don't want to reveal their names, but
ooh, okay. I mean, I know Kino joined recently.
yeah, he joined recently, and that's not one of the two people. But there's like we add people, based on how good they work with other members and knowledgeable, and they fit in the group. Are they like tech savvy? I don't know, because most of what Nerds is said in Nerds Inc. isn't about Minecraft. It's a big surprise. It's mostly, day to day life things, programming, tech stuff like that.
Gotcha. It's just like like a support group.
I guess you could say that a support group.
I think the last thing I go on about with Nerds Inc. I know, right? Yeah. Um, are there any plans that the nerds really think are they're gonna be acting out on in the foreseeable future?
Um, I always wish we could do more. I mean, we have the opportunity to do new things. It's just it's so hard to organize it nowadays. Like when we did the Space Valk 3 grief, we had to get the times right. And not only that, we had to, it's like a bunch of things. It's like the stars had to align, all the planets had to align. And it was very tough because everybody's busy, but also there's a paywall now. There's like the $20 fee to get priority. So we had to find somebody because not everybody wanted to pay for priority. So we had to find somebody to actually help us out. And that's like $100 for, one video or one, event. So it's
Yeah.
financially hard to do now. And I wish we could do more, but it's like with that paywall in the way and just so many other things, it's like it's nearly impossible. The only reason we could do the Space Valk 3 grief um, was because we really wanted to do it. Like everybody really wanted to do it. Tristan, doesn't like Jack, and he wants to get back at him for what he did to him. So this was like the perfect thing to do. So it's things like that. But we could do other things.
Yeah, of course.
But it's like against who? Not old players that we know. It's against like new players that we don't care about, or we don't have any beef with. It's
Gotcha.
hard to describe.
I see. I see. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I want to go off of that little road and go on to more. What have you done? Now, what's the really complete story with you and your famous project, Forge Hacks?
Oh yes. So I started that all the way back in 2016, and this was a little bit before, I think, the June 1st. But I had always like dreamed of having a client that worked on Forge, and at the time, there was like maybe one client that did it, I think. But it used this thing called Mixin, and I really don't like Mixin. And I wanted to have like a mod that just kind of worked with all the other mods, But it's like a very complicated thing to do since you can't actually directly modify Minecraft's source code. So I was like, I'll just make it myself. And I wanted to have like certain features because I was tired of, downloading other people's clients and only for their clients to have like missing a certain feature that, I think every client should have, something that's simple and it's been in numerous other clients, but then just suddenly isn't in this one.
Yeah,
So I was like, if I just make my own, then I'll have more control. So that's when I made Forgex, and it used to be just like the old code is just terrible. It's like, very bare essentials. It did not do combat, and in fact, I don't think you would want to do combat with it even today. I mean, I've improved it, but it's like it's very complicated to write some things, and I'm not really a PvP or anything, so I would just write modules, as I needed them.
yeah. I can imagine that.
Well, then eventually one day, like all my friends, I would give it to my friends and stuff, and they liked it because it was like you could use Journey Map and all these other mods with it, which was like really cool. So, but then one day the 1111 dupe came out, and Jared was like, he had like this really weird way of doing it before we learned that you could just drop your items and disconnect at the same time. It was like you get two clients and you have one connect and the other one will drop the items as the other one's connecting. And that's how we used to do it. And it was like overly complicated, but it was hard to automate. That was the thing. Because you had to find some key to a disconnect thing and it was like hard to do. So I wrote a Forgex module that allowed you to automate it. So you'd have two things and it would, the two clients would talk to each other and they tell each other when to drop the items and to connect. So I made that and then I gave it out to some people. And this is when Forgex was not public. So a few people got it. And eventually, like I saw people had interest in it. And I decided that, okay, I'm going to abuse this interest. So I put a backdoor in it. And it was the most like terrible backdoor ever. Just like literally there was a method in it that was named backdoor, but it caught so many people who were trying to dupe by surprise. And I thought that was really funny. And I thought that would just be the end of it. Like, okay, nobody's going to care about this stupid cheat. And I just kind of I didn't make it public or anything at that point. But eventually there was this one guy who, like, for some reason, he really wanted like the original source code. And I didn't understand why. But it just turned out that a lot of people were very interested in a cheat that worked on Forge. So when I noticed that, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just make the source code public then. So that's when I made the source code public. And ever since then, it's become, I guess, a little bit more popular. The thing that made it really popular was that one guy who made a video about the book bot, which I had written. And he showed you how to do the chunk dupe using the book bot. And whenever that came out, like the downloads and the visits to the Forgex page just like skyrocketed.
I can imagine. Jesus. Wait, was that Sal?
I think so. It was some guy who, I don't remember his name, but he made like a really nice video and stuff. And it was like, it was showing you how to do the book thing. And he's like, you download Forgex. And I was like, oh, cool. That's where all the traffic's coming from.
Oh, all those guys trying to Jew that client for themselves. But
yeah,
I guess that's one of the last questions I have on Minecraft. But I have a few for you, just off topic of that, and still in the realm of gaming and stuff like that. So, really, where did your interest for coding begin?
Well, I really started all the way back in 2009. When I played Gary's Mod a lot. And at the time, I knew nothing of programming. But Gary's Mod offered like a unique opportunity because Lua is like so easy. You can modify Lua scripts and you can test them without having to restart the game. So I started tinkering and I was like really addicted to like cheating and stuff. So it's like I would download these like horrid cheats, like badly coded cheats and I would like modify them and see how the behavior changed, and that's how I slowly learned how to program. It was a very difficult process. I don't recommend it, but over time, I learned how to program by doing, just looking at other people's code, changing it a little bit, and then seeing how the behavior changed and stuff. So Gary's Mod was really the biggest, thing that brought me into programming. And I stayed with that for a long time. In fact, that's where I met Victor, who eventually invited me to 2B2T, and Cobra 51, who was a base mate, and also Tyler, or Oxymoron, who was a good friend until he betrayed me, but then we became good friends again.
Yeah, it's always good to reconnect with old buddies, and it's really great to have those stories, not necessarily just on Tubi, but outside of it, so that you still have those roots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now, what's the story with you and your love of Gmod? Because I went on your YouTube channel. You have quite a lot of videos of you dicking around and hacking in CS and CSGO on making a lot of people rage. So what's the whole story with that?
Well, Gary's Mod was just an awesome game to cheat in. Like, I'm not talking about like 13. I stopped playing when Gary's Mod 13 came out, but before that, it was like it was very fresh. It wasn't exactly like the newest game on the market, but it had like all these different game modes that were all fun to cheat in, like Fort Wars, Stronghold. It's like, and no server had any anti-cheat or anything, and it was a great game to cheat in because it's like, I think this is when the Trouble in Terrorist Town was becoming popular, because that had been born off of something called Freda, which was like some game mode competition, and it was just so awesome to play.
Oh, Trouble in Terrorist Town is hilarious. You can have so much fun on that.
Oh yeah, the early versions were great because you would just mow down people with like a deagle or something, because you could do like no spread aimbot stuff, and it would just be hilarious to watch because people weren't used to cheats being that accurate at the time. So it was always funny to see, it was just a great game to cheat in general. And I had like this rivalry with some guy named Seth. And I guess he wouldn't call me his rival because it was just, I didn't like the dude. But he sold a cheat in Gary's Mod called Seth Hack. And he had a bunch of like followers that were like the most obnoxious children in the world. And God, now that I think about it, I actually hate that dude. They would like DDoS, because there was also this problem where the game would send you a player's IP address if you connected to a server, which makes no sense. Like, I don't understand why the game would do that, but they would abuse that so that if you joined their server and they didn't like you, these Seth Hack users would just DDoS you.
Oh, fuck them.
Yeah, I hated them so much. But I love cheating in Gary's Mod. Cheating in Gary's Mod was like the greatest thing ever because it was like unprotected. You can't get VAC banned, and you really couldn't get banned in almost any other way. There were like a few servers that had decent anti-cheats. Everything else would just like, it was like terrible. They would detect public stuff. But if you stayed away from that, then you could cheat all you wanted. But when I moved on to CSS because I guess, I wanted to play another game once Gary's Mod 13 came. And CSS was like different. I never think I actually got very good at writing cheats for it. My friend, who I taught how to write Lua, actually excelled at writing, C++ code. And he like quickly outlearned me.
C++, I've tried it. It's the devil. I hate it. I hate it so much.
I mean, it's a good language, but I was a little young when I started, so I just didn't understand the concepts and stuff. So I just wrote really terrible code. It was really bad. But he wrote and I just didn't understand how things worked. Like, I didn't know how to reverse engineer. So I don't think my contributions to that game were like as great as with my Lua ones, where I felt like I had a very strong understanding and all of its internal workings. And as for CSGO, well, I think I stopped writing cheats in general for Source games and stuff by the time CS:GO had been released. I did want to cheat in it, but whenever I did, it was like beta only. You had to have a beta key to play the game, and I didn't, but my friend did. So it was like I felt left out, but I missed that. But I didn't ever cheated in CS:GO from wanting to.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to anyway. It's really like the anti-cheat would get me banned instantly these days. I think they're a lot more strict.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Um, Now, as one of the last, if not the last questions I have for you, before we go on to the many actually community questions, is that really what I'm asking you is if you had one thing to ask yourself in an interview, what would it be?
Hmm. Well, I think you already asked it. It was about the Forge hacks because I feel like it just kind of I don't know. I never actually explained to people where the idea came from. I feel like I was one of the first people to write a cheat that used Forge and kind of worked with other mods. Like before that, it's like you had to download cheats and they would, they would take up. You'd have to. You couldn't have other mods, other Forge mods. So I was kind of proud of writing something or using, my knowledge of like the Java bytecode and all that to write a cheat that worked with Minecraft and all these mods, and it would just be compatible. Like it didn't matter if these other mods changed the code because Forge hacks could just, it was fault tolerant, and I was really proud of that. But I'm not so sure how much of an influence, but I felt like I had a big influence because I felt like as soon as Forge hacks, I released it to the public, I felt like a lot of other people started moving their cheats to, Forge, or at least be compatible with Forge.
Yeah. Okay, I see. All right. Well, I guess we got a good amount of questions done, but we still have 5 community questions for you, frickin'. So the first one is coming from Totorak. Is Nerds Inc. actively looking for new members?
I guess we're never like not looking for new members, but it's just we add people as we see fit. Like if they're cool people, we add them. If they're not cool people, then I guess we don't add them.
Gotcha. Okay, so
There's no like procedure to sign up.
yeah, there's no application.
No application.
Yeah. Now, coming from IMEMS, the Norwegian man himself, what do you think about the Backstreet Boys, the 2B group?
Backstreet Boys? I thought that was a band.
It's a group on 2B.
Oh, well, I've never heard of them until now. So I guess I have a very neutral view on them.
Alrighty, well, that's that. Coming from me, actually, I looked through all your Reddit posts and stuff like that. Why did you once want a tranny to be your waifu?
Uh-oh. What post was this?
This was a while back. This was a couple years ago, I believe. But
Was it from my shit posting on 2B2T where I spammed a bunch of porn and ponies and traps?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm a shit poster. I would never want a trap to be my waifu unless it was an attractive one.
Unless it was an attractive one. Hear that, kill it? Alrighty. Anyway, so coming from an anonymous one, but a good friend of mine, is Forge Hacks currently ratted?
Ratted? No. I mean, it used to be, and a lot of people go and look through the commit history and they the back code, and they're like, oh, I have proof Forge Hacks is ratted. It's not ratted. It's public source. If there was a rat, it'd get detected. And the old backdoor that was in it, I removed years ago. A long time ago.
Gotcha. Now, the last one, my favorite question out of every single one.
I know what's coming.
Yeah. Coming from Kabata, what's your favorite cheese?
I knew it. So the cheese question.
Man, it's the best goddamn one.
I mean, it's just so hard to answer. I like all types of cheeses. I like mozzarella on, I guess, lasagna. and I also like shredded cheddar cheese on nachos. But I also love white American for like queso. It's a very hard choice. I can't
Yeah,
answer this question. It's too much pressure.
I think this may be the hardest question I've ever asked. God.
I think the white American. I
White
like queso
American.
more than anything.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, thank you very much, frickin', for coming on. Um, I'd like to thank
Thanks for
you.
having me.
Oh, no problem, man. It was a pleasure, trust me. Thank you for watching the Anarchy podcast. If you would like to be part of the discussion, don't forget to join the Discord. Link will be in the description, along with anything frickin' wants to give me to advertise for him, or just really anything. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See ya.
Fuck my friends, they're gone. They all left one by one. And now the summer's done. They don't need no more fun. Yeah, I drive around on my own. I'm rich but my AC broke. Don't check no mail, no phone. And I tell them I'm not home. And I keep to myself. Fuck with no one else. And I know it's my fault, but I don't care. And I keep to myself. Who are you to pretend? And I know it's my fault, it'll never end. Yeah, all my friends no fun. Yeah, all my friends no fun. Drive around on my own. Yeah, all my friends no fun. Yeah, all my friends no fun. Yeah, all my friends no fun. All they do is sun. Yeah, all my friends no Yeah, I can't get no sleep. I look so good in green. I run, and I don't have no more dreams. I drive around on my own. Feel dead, but I feel my bones. I hide out on my throne. Open up, now my cover's blown. Yeah, now my cover's blown.